Hello, this is Chris Cooper, and a big welcome to the final unique business show of the year, Business Elevation Show of the year. We'll have a couple of repeated shows because it's holiday time over here. But I wanted to take the opportunity to just be here on my own today and to say a few words and to share with you some reflections from the year and also from the community that I lead, the Elevation Collective, which is composed of exceptional people who have all been guests on my show over the years and really care about not only themselves and their businesses, but particularly about contributing to a better world and leaving it in a hopefully a better place due to their contribution. Clearly, it's a strange time at the moment. Lots going on around the globe, a lot of negativity in the media, etc. But I've been hosting this show now for 14 and a half years. I'm a little bit surprised to discover one of the longest running podcasts in the world, business podcasts in the world. I think I've hit 625 episodes now, unique episodes, probably interviewed or probably over 500 people, something like that. And it's given me the opportunity to spend time talking to really fascinating folks. But the aim of today really is to give you some thoughts, some insights. Maybe there'll be a few gems in there that would be valuable for you to take away and help you to make sense of what's going on, but also in particular to make sure that 2026 is a brilliant year for you. A year that I hope that you can step up in whatever you're doing and contribute in a bigger way. A year where you actually come away at the end of the year and you feel a sense of pride that you can look back on it and realize that you've made a difference. That you being in the world right now has made a difference. But I also hope if you're at a point where maybe life feels so tough right now, that what this conversation that I'm going to have with you, I know it's a little bit one way because you're not here, I can't see you. But I hope that this conversation maybe lifts you a little bit. It lifts your spirits. It makes you realize that actually what is being talked about in the media, for example, is not necessarily the truth. You see, from all of the conversations I've been fortunate enough to have, I realize there are so many people out there doing good things. The vast majority of people are kind. The vast majority of people care. And therefore, what happens is often these things sit under the radar. They don't get in the media particularly, or they don't get, it doesn't make great news talking about good things often, does it? People want shocking headlines that are going to have you read the newspaper. The challenge, of course, though, is we become a product of what we consume. We think we're a consumer, but actually we become a product of what all of those messages and all that information that we read. So I hope in this world that might seem very noisy at the moment, very tense, very uncertain, we're going through, as one of my guests, Jude Curavan, said, we're going through metamorphosis. Now, I like that word, metamorphosis. Many people would say we're in chaos at the moment, but actually chaos gets us all panicky and stressed, doesn't it? But metamorphosis suggests change. Some of that change might be good change. Some of that change might be needed. So I hope today, and this will lift you, I hope it will give you some thoughts and some ideas and realise that maybe there is a lot of good going on right now. A lot of things that you can feel hopeful about. A lot of things that can inspire you to take action and go on and utilise 2026 to make a real difference for whoever you are and wherever you're at and whatever country you're in. I hope you can step up. I hope you can lift yourself. I hope you're not feeling despair right now and feeling angst and sadness and worry. I hope that you can lift yourself above that and see a bigger picture. A picture where maybe you take even more control of your life and you move forward and you make a difference. You make a difference in the industry that you're working in. You make a difference to the people around you. It might be your family. It might be a local community. It doesn't have to necessarily be, a big ground changing things. It might be. So the community that I lead, the Elevation Collective, it's a community of very kind-hearted folk, very experienced, very wise, and I've picked them. I've picked them personally for their characteristics and their character, that they're of good character. We have no egos in the community, but when people join, they all feel an inferiority complex. They all feel out of place, and oh my goodness, all these amazing people, and that's good. That's one of the criteria that I want people to feel, because it means they've got humility. In my work, I develop leaders and teams and business cultures. I've done that for many, many years. But a year ago, I was at a point with the community where I was thinking, getting lots of great feedback from all of these people. We're having wonderful events monthly, and also face-to-face annually, and various sequences and times during the year. But I was at a point of frustration. I don't know whether you're feeling that too. That maybe you're feeling a bit frustrated where you're at right now. And my frustration, I know that when I feel frustration, it means I'm lacking clarity. Frustration always precedes clarity. So perhaps if you're feeling frustrated right now, you're lacking some clarity about what's important. It's through a combination with a conversation with a friend, a client actually, who said to me, Chris, what you're about is about amplifying good. And it made me realize that that needs to be the focus for the community, and all my energy started to come back. Amplifying good. We need more good in the world right now. We need more kindness, more heart, more caring, more support. We need to help lift everybody, because right now we all need to shift our consciousness. The world is getting ever faster. Technology is growing. AI. We need to lift our consciousness to a new level. So what's consciousness? This week, a lovely connection of mine, Kathy DeMarcos from Sydney, Australia. She's an amazing businesswoman and humanitarian. And she interviewed me on her podcast, and the podcast was about consciousness. And she asked me, Chris, what is consciousness? Now, my understanding of consciousness, and I don't have the full picture, I see consciousness being about our awareness of our thoughts and our feelings, and what is going on around us, our interpretation of that, but our thoughts and feelings, and also our actions and our behaviours. But more than that, as I've grown older, I've started to realise that consciousness is also being part of like a collective consciousness. There's an intelligence that pervades the universe, pervades everything on this planet. You're amazing. You are about 30 trillion cells all communicating with each other, and out of that, making that uniquely you. You are absolutely remarkable. How did that all happen? I don't know. I'm not from a religious family. I don't come from a religious background. I guess I've become a bit spiritual as I've got older. I've realised I'm part of something bigger. I don't understand and never will. Not while I'm alive anyway. But what I've got to realise is that actually, when I interview so many different people, they give me the same message often, that they can access something from within themselves in moments of quiet that lifts their creativity and their consciousness and their awareness. It's almost as though ideas come to you in that stillness. They're looking for a home. And often those ideas are exactly what you need right now. So there's something going on. I don't claim to understand it. But what I decided to do this year was to produce an ebook. That book will be available to download from chriscooper.co.uk in January. It'll be free. I'm not looking to sell it, not at this point anyway, so you'll be able to access that for free. And it summarises 10 elevations for thriving and doing good in today's world. I think you can thrive and do good. I think that's really important. So what I want to do today is thinking back to some of the interviews. Because all of this information, I'm just an observer. I participate in some things, but I'm an observer. I observe what's going on for people. I listen and I learn through my conversations, through my interviews, my community. I hold the space for it. I'm not the guru. I don't want to be anybody's guru. This is not about being a guru. And for me, I hold the space. I bring people together. I'm a connector. That's my unique role. And what I've done is observed in people. I've listened to their ideas, their thoughts, and golden nuggets, and I've distilled some of those into the ebook. So why not access it and use it? Why not access some of those great ideas from lots of wise folk? Maybe it will be helpful. So I'm going to outline the 10 elevations, very, very top line. There'll be more detail in the book, and share some of those thoughts with you. And we'll talk about that. You might also note that the radio podcast, the podcast has now been, the sub-name is now Where Good Matters. We need to change the introduction, the commentary, narration a little bit inside the interview, but it changed this year. Also, the ownership of the show is with Voice America, Voice American Media. That's been now purchased by somebody else, by a lovely guy called Aaron. And it did mean for a period of time that the show disappeared off Voice America, and you couldn't so easily access it. But hopefully, you've managed to find it while you're here. So there we go. So let's look at 10 elevations that I hope will help you to thrive and to do more good in 2026. Good can be whatever it means for you. It can be good contributing to other people. It can be social. It could be helping to improve the climate situation. It might be producing products that are more sustainable. It might just be being kind to your neighbour. Whatever it is to you, we need more of it. More kindness, more goodness, more caring. So the first elevation is elevate your focus. Elevate your focus. Get very clear for 2026 on the areas you want to focus in on. And don't get sidetracked. Get focused. I don't have shares in this company or any commission or anything like that, but I use a book. This one's called Clever Fox. And in it, I take the time each year to write my vision, my goals, and I actually utilize that. I review every month and every quarter how I'm progressing against those goals. That's really helpful. But what I've tried to do is to make sure I don't have too many. I think smart people actually have less. So one of the things I wanted to do was to evolve the Elevation Collective. So that's one area to grow the collective with the right kinds of people. The second thing was that I wanted to improve the value to our members. So we've gone and done that this year. And anything that sits outside of those two prime goals, then what I need to do is, in some instances, say no to. So we need to get really clear about what our focus is. My focus is obviously about amplifying good, ensuring that I invite the right people. I'm the gatekeeper for our community. It's a beautiful thing I can do that. Most organisations get the whole gamut of different folk and different people and different personalities. I can be a little bit discerning about who I ask, because it's my ultimate decision. But because what I want to have is a very deep connective experience. So when you're focusing on what's important, and I would also suggest you might have goals around your family, you might have goals on friendships, you might have goals around your finances, about your health and your fitness. Those are good areas too. But have too many, have 20 different goals, and you're going to struggle. You're going to lose focus. We can usually remember about seven things. That's probably the most. Maybe even 5 would be better. But have those focus areas and be very careful to reclaim your energy from all the noise. What I realise is that smart people are very aware of the noise that's happening in the media. They're very aware of social media. They're very aware that actually if you search for certain things, the algorithms will send you more of that stuff. So if you're searching for negative things, toxic things, you're going to get more and more of them. And you can start to think that the world is just like that. As I said earlier, you might think you're the consumer of that information, but actually you become the product of it. It starts to affect your subconscious mind. It affects your mood. It affects how you feel about the world. It can take you on a downward spiral. So what we have to do is make sure we just focus on the things that take us on an upward spiral. So be very careful with media. Be very careful to manage your time on your smartphone. Set a good example to your kids. Make sure you listen to your family and aren't spending all of your time doom scrolling. So that's been a common theme this year that people have talked about. I would also just make one point that I think is important, and we stress this, is that there are a lot of people out there, it's a minority of people, but it's probably quite a lot of people who utilize social media for negative things. Some of those people want to get access to your kids. We had Dr. Dina Graves on the show probably around about a year ago, and that really impacted me. Dina is an expert on things like sextortion and trafficking, and it really worried me when I heard the way that she shared the statistics she talked about, our young people being impacted. And it's been said that that young age group, 18 to 24, actually suffers with lots of depression, lots of sadness, lots of anger today, and some of that is going to be linked to what they're looking at on their phones. After that interview, my nieces, who were just been given phones, they were only young, just a little bit young in my mind, but they were given phones at about the age of 12, 13, and within a few weeks they were being targeted, one of them by a sextortion gang, probably from Pakistan. So just take real care, manage the safety settings and things like that. So not only I would suggest as a parent, we need to just help manage that noise for our kids as well as manage it for ourselves. I don't look at the news every day. I might just scan through on my phone every couple of days, but I'm not watching it on the TV. Like my father did, he would watch it at breakfast, he'd watch it at lunch, he'd watch it at evening, and he would suddenly think the world is terrible and it's all going downhill. So the second thing, and it's linked, these all link in. So the second one is elevate your mindset. And this is all about your adaptability and feeling a sense of positivity and optimism rather than fear. Mindset, how your mindset is, links very much to your energy. And if you've got a lot of energy and a positive energy, it attracts people. You stand out like a shining beacon today. One of my guests, Julie Wignall, talked about fireflies, and her book was about people doing amazing things around the world. And she described them like fireflies. I think I like to connect some of those fireflies together. What they do, they're little beacons, they lift people. They energize people, and you can be one of them, or you can be one of those that takes people down with you. So be a firefly if you can. Make sure that you're bringing the best of you into each situation. Be present for people. Ask them questions. Today I'm talking a lot, but if I was coaching or mentoring, I'd want to be talking 25% of the time. Maybe 30% of the time with mentoring, maybe 20% of the time, even 15% with coaching. Because if you talk too much at people, you're not giving them the opportunity to think for themselves. What you want to do is help them to think things through. Which links me to Gene Early, who's one of my members of my community. Gene introduced neurolinguistic programming to Europe. Very smart guy, and he talks a lot about 10x thinking, about not just taking your thinking to a small level, but taking it to somewhere far more expansive. And ultimately, when you do that, this linked in potentially to 10 times the results. I've heard some people say it's harder to, why it's harder to double your business than make it shift 10 times. It's quite interesting. So with 10x thinking, what we need to do is to think beyond where we're at right now. Have a vision. Gene very kindly said to me a few weeks ago, Chris, you've made a 10x shift this year. I said, but Jean, I feel right now that I'm at 1x. He said, yep, you've made your 10x and you're back to 1 again. You need to make another 10x leap now. So think about how next year you can maybe take what you're doing a step further. Because life isn't a dress rehearsal. I also, in terms of mindset, one of our community members, Paul Davis, who's an amazing consultant. In fact, Paul's just written his latest book. I just happen to have it up here. It's called Winning the Snakes and Ladders of Life. He talked to me quite a bit and the community a bit about not just having a sense of hope, but also feel a sense of knowing for your vision. I think that's a mindset shift. So have a think about maybe where your fear might be diluting your knowing. You're feeling a lot of fear right now and it's creating doubt. How can you let that fear go and just move forward? Often, from my experience and from the experience of the people I interview, it's about taking small steps. Something might seem huge, but just start taking small steps. Each day take a little step towards your goal, and it could be amazing. Your life could transform within 10 years. It's incredible. 5-10 years. You're taking these small steps. Which links us to number 3. That is elevating your growth. So I think if you've got really focused on what you're doing and you're trying all the time to shift your mindset, and I would say with mindset, reframing is really important. If you feel negativity sinking in, you work on that and you say, actually, no, I'm going to see that differently. So I'll give you an example of that. One of my clients contacted me a couple of years ago to say, Chris, thank you for all the help. Our work was really helpful. One of the things that happened to me recently, and she'd struggled a little bit with kind of her mindset and was feeling very down, and at times her language patterns were quite negative. And she said to me, something happened to me recently, and she said, my house was burning down. I got back and the house was on fire. The roof was on fire. And rather than despair, as I normally would have done, I asked, what did Chris Cooper say to me? What would he do? He said he would reframe. So she said, I reframed it. She said, I decided, well, I said to myself, at least my laptop's not in there, and I've got my bank cards and everything, and my car's not near the house. So that's good. Actually, could do with decorating anyway. She said, I'm now living in a hotel the minute while the house gets fixed and the insurance comes through, but I'm feeling good. I feel good about things. I'm okay. So thank you. That reframing really works. So we've just got 4 minutes till break. So I'll just say a little bit about elevating your growth. Now, when things seem uncomfortable, realize that's probably because you're growing, because growing's not easy. Now, I don't mean physically. It can be uncomfortable growing physically, but I mean taking shifts to another level. Growth often really feels like progress when you're in it, when it feels you feel a bit stuck. A wonderful friend of mine I was with I'll end on this one for now. A wonderful friend of mine I was with last week. I visited her in a hospital called Stoke Mandeville for the second time because 9 months ago she had a heart attack. Completely out of unexpected. She was fit and healthy and had a good diet, and she was a well-being expert and she meditated, but she had a heart attack. And due to some oxygen starvation, she's ended up paralysed in a wheelchair from the chest down. She's quite remarkable. Sitting with her was like sitting with a sage or an oracle. And was fascinating that she said to me, I don't want you to think that I've had a bad year. For most people, being in a wheelchair and paralysed from the chest down would be a pretty awful year, wouldn't it? And she said, because there's no money that I could have spent to have the personal development that I've had this year. And believe me, she's so smart, insightful, wise, Spending time with her is an absolute pleasure. And I'm pleased to say after 9 months, she's just left the hospital. She's going to have a new home to live in, which is being adapted. But I think she's going to go and leave an incredible legacy. She's absolutely inspiring and incredible. One of the things that I saw in her too was I gave her a little poetry book. It was from 5 mystical poets. I knew she would like that. And she opened it and received it with such gratitude that I realised that we've forgotten how to receive. I think it's Christmas here very soon. There'll be lots of children ripping off the wrapping paper and throwing it down and opening the next present and the next present. Some children will be less fortunate, of course. But she just took the time to express her gratitude and look through the book and comment on it, and as though it was a precious jewel that I'd given her. And I just was overwhelmed by that. And it made me think too about how do I receive. So that was an area of growth, I think, that I took from that little moment. Actually, how do I receive with even more grace, even more gratitude? So take those moments to think about that. So we're going to go to commercial break, and after the break, we'll talk just a little bit more about elevating your growth. And you might be doing programs and courses and things that you need to do to help you move to another level, or pushing yourself out of your comfort zone with different tasks and situations and opportunities in 2026. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll talk about some of the other elevations. But please, come back again and do let me know if you found this helpful. Do take a few notes if you've got any little ideas that have popped up for you. Take the break actually of 2 minutes just to have a think and process some of this. What could be helpful for you in 2026 to make sure you have a fantastic year? There might be all sorts of challenges. It doesn't mean there won't be, but have a year that takes you forward with your goals, with your vision, and helps you to contribute in your way to improving the situation right now, rather than impacting it adversely. Back again in 2 minutes. Hi, this is Chris Cooper. I'm back with you on the Business Elevation Show. Unusual show today. It's the end of the year. It's the 19th of December. Not quite there, but I'm going to have a little bit of holiday with the family. And today I'm talking about 10 elevations for thriving and doing good in today's world. And some of the insights and the reflections and the thoughts that have come, that I've had, but also have had by listening and observing my interview guests and the community, the Elevation Collective. So we're talking about before the break about elevating your growth. So where do you need to grow and expand? Some of that you might think of that as being training programs, courses, things you can go on. But it also might just be by pushing yourself further to doing something you've not done before. So one of my clients, Sharon Jessup, she's an amazing endurance athlete from South Africa. She's also a self-development expert and a conservationist. And this year, she sent the most amazing pictures of moving 5 families of elephants from one game reserve to another. I mean, they were incredible pictures. But of course, for her growth doing that, not many people have done it. So, that's really, kind of expansive. And that taking on more responsibility can be expansive. You learn on the job. Another member of the Elevation Collective, another client of mine, Tessa White, the job doctor. Tessa's got over 1 million followers on TikTok. She's absolutely inspirational. And this year, she took on a new role. And she did it because she wanted to help even more young people be successful in their careers. And she took on a role as the chair of the board of trustees for one of the biggest universities in Utah. I think it's Utah State, about 35,000 students, and that's going to enable her to, many of those students over time, to actually see them face to face and help them with her incredible wisdom. And actually, the interview I did, if you're thinking of working on your career at the moment, go back in the archive, please, and listen to the interview with Tessa White, because she talks about the different stages of a career in a way I've never ever heard them talked about before. And I thought, I wish I had that information when I was going through my corporate experience. So have a think about, in your growth, what stretch is inviting you in terms of for your next level. What stretch is inviting your next level, your next level shift? What areas do you need to learn about? Do you need to grow? What actions do you need to take or to put yourself out of your comfort zone to enable your growth? A fun thing that's happened to me recently is I play the guitar. If you're seeing the video of this, you might see my guitar behind me. And I got the opportunity, I saw that a really great local rock cover band, a rock and pop cover band, were auditioning for a new lead guitarist. So I sent them a video just before the cut-off, because they've been going through quite a process apparently to find a new guitarist. And I've got on January the 8th, so it's just about 3 weeks away, just under, I've got an audition with them. The thing that it has done for me, though, is I have to learn 10 new songs in a month. Now, that is a stretch. It is when you play fairly complicated lead guitar. So I've got to learn 10 new songs, but by the 8th, I will have learned 10 new songs. And even if I don't get the gig, my guitar playing will be at another level. Just got to make sure that I don't get divorced after Christmas with all the time I'm taking. So let's now talk about elevating your health. Health is so important, isn't it? You know, it's your mental health, but also your physical health. You know, health is essential. If we don't have our health, we can't work. A few years ago, I had 2 major surgeries. If you've listened to this show before, you might know. And one of them, I nearly didn't make it through. I thought I would during the process, but it was a little bit touch and go. I had a lot of recovery. And what I found afterwards is that I had, for quite a while, I really struggled with low energy. I just didn't have any energy. My body was trying to fix my wounds. I had a lot of internal surgery. Think about 7 hours of work inside of me over during a 6-month period, and it takes a lot of healing. And what I really appreciated after that was when my energy came back. You realise just how important it is. What you put in your body is really important. What you put on it is really important. One of the Elevation Collective members, Shay Hulsher. Shay is has a beauty brand. Sorry, it's a hair care beauty brand called Privé Products. And what she's very focused on is making sure that her products are sustainable. So you're not putting anything that's toxic onto your skin. Because I'd never thought about this before, that actually what I put on my skin can leach through into my bloodstream. She cares about the health and the planet. But also her good aspect on top of that is a percentage of her profits goes to women's charities. So I think being mindful of what goes in, being mindful of keeping physically fit, and if you can, strong. That's one of my focuses this year, is to get myself feeling very strong again. I do a lot of exercise, a lot of walking, but I could be stronger. I'm in my 50s now, so I need to look after myself. And I think we had an interview over the last year, I think it was, with Rachel Morris, Dr. Rachel Morris. She talked about burnout. Burnout often comes from a values conflict where we're working in places that just don't align with ourselves. So I think that alignment's really important. Doing work that you feel proud of, that work that lifts you, work that is good for humanity. I used to work after graduation, I worked in officially photocopiers, then I guess vehicles which are quite polluting. I spent 7 years at a confectionery firm. I spent a number of years then selling in a company, running divisions that were selling and producing cakes and biscuits. And then I went into the industry selling alcohol for pubs. And I've started to realize that actually what I also care from a social perspective is actually working on products that are good for us. Now I do drink a little bit. I do still eat confectionery, particularly as I've just received from a client some gifts for Christmas. I will still eat a bit, but I'm just also a bit more mindful of what I put in my body. But have a think about, for your mental health, are you working in an organisation that fits with your values, is doing good, or could you actually help from within? Could you help it to do more good? So the fifth one was elevate your resilience. Now, resilience really is a long game. And, resilience is day in, day out, getting up, doing what you need to do, taking action. It's being able to get over the minor obstacles that might get in your way, or sometimes it might feel like we fall down a great big cavern and we have to find our way out the other side. It is the hero's journey after all, life, of ups and downs, but we learn more on those dips. Realize that they're gifts that you can learn from. Sometimes we have terrible things we as human beings we have to learn from. Terrible things, and but we can learn from those things. One of my new members of my community, Dr. Laurie Layden, is incredible. She spent 10 years working with genocide victims in Rwanda, and then 3 years at Sandy Hook School. She's now helping Ukraine mediators deal with trauma. She has made that her life's work, and she's very motivated by that to help people. She says she suffered trauma herself, but she's become an expert at it, and that's how she contributes. And it keeps her health, in a good shape, because she knows she's doing good, even though it's very challenging. You can get a lot of energy from helping others. One of our community members, Paul Davis, I've mentioned him earlier. He's just written a book. It's called Winning the Snakes and Ladders Game of Life. And he's a smart fella. And on the back, it says, have you ever felt like life keeps knocking you back just when you start to rise? Or that no matter how much you achieve, something still feels missing? Winning the Snakes and Ladders Game of Life is a guide for those moments when it appears you're climbing, falling, or sometimes going around in circles and wondering what it all means. It's about discovering how every setback, challenge, and dark night of the soul can become a turning point towards your true path. So these dips, we learn on them. We all have them. They're all going to keep happening. But actually, they often become what we need to strengthen us. See them as a gift. Reframe them. Brian Smith, who founded, some of you may know, the UGG slippers or UGG shoes. He was the original founder, and he talked about how we actually need to celebrate when things go wrong. See it as a something exciting, as something positive and energizing when something goes wrong. Be motivated and uplifted by it. It's a different way to think about it, because actually it's a gift that we're having. It's a way of learning and helping us with our growth. Elevating your purpose. Sometimes when you have a purpose that is big and it pervades everything, and our purpose around amplifying good, for example, it's huge, it's never ending, it's motivating, it gets you up in a daytime to make because your life feels worthwhile. Zoe Holland is an amazing corporate leader, MBE. She had set up a little organisation. They knitted 110,000 hearts, and they gave them to people in hospitals, in hospices, and each heart was to say, "We care. We're thinking about you." Zoe came on one of my programs recently to our annual conference, actually. And in that conference, she realised that there was something she had been holding herself back from in a very corporate world, and that was kind of this area, spiritual area of her life. And she's actually training at the moment to be a multi-faith minister as a consequence. So that's interesting. Really, really, really thought-provoking. Her purpose is actually something much bigger. It's to bring more love into the world. Molly Bedingfield. Molly is the founder of Global Angels. We took a party out to Tsavo in Kenya this year, and we saw the incredible work she's doing to help local people and help local communities out of poverty, helping them with permaculture, helping them to have running water, helping the kids by feeding them food in schools. We saw the incredible work she's doing. That purpose has meant she's travelled multiple times to Kenya this year and has been evolving Global Angels to help more and more people. My friend David Fox Pitt, MBE. David has been to Ukraine over 40 times since the war started. His organisation, Hopeful, were feeding 5,000 people a day with 600 volunteers in total in Ukraine during the conflict. And he wasn't involved at all prior to the conflict. So, his purpose has just taken him to Ukraine many, many times. So have a think about what you do in terms of service. Not looking for recognition, but can you lead the way? Do you have a purpose that is bigger than you, that energizes you? I also want you to think about your connection. Being disconnected from others is a real issue. But how I find it, and many of my interview guests all talk about being connected to nature. Getting out into nature makes you feel like you're part of it. Feeling a sense of connection with something bigger than you. For some people that might be a spiritual connection or a religious connection, but it might just be that feeling that you get when you're around other like-minded people. But being connected and spending time with people. When we were out in Kenya, I took my eldest son, and he met people that he'd never met before, people with real poverty, average incomes of $18 a month. That experience of realizing how fortunate he was when he was feeling a real downer on the United Kingdom as a place to live, and then he goes somewhere and people are living in tin shacks on $18 a month for a family. It was very levelling. It helped him. But what he did do was he connected with people in a big way. He connected with the other people from my community. And they really enjoyed having a 19-year-old with them and learning from him and his fun and his quirkiness. That connection too, at the end of that trip, I never would have believed it, but my son said after an incredible experience that his favourite thing was spending time with me, which I never would have imagined before. That would have come anywhere on his top 10, if not his top 20 things that he wanted to do in his life. But we built a real connection by spending time with us. So where do you feel most human? Where do you feel at your happiest? Taking the time to spend time in quietness and contemplation and stillness is something people talk about a lot. I find really exceptional people, many of them meditate. Many of them look for those quiet spaces to deeply contemplate. And it's in those moments of stillness, in those moments of surrender, that the ideas and the inspiration I talked about at the beginning of this interview come through. Because there's a connection, potentially something bigger that we don't understand, but universal intelligence, whatever that might be. And that brings me to the next point of elevating your intelligence. As a human being, we can learn. It's interesting when you look at school and achievement. There's so many people I've interviewed over the years who've done so well, and I would say are super intelligent, but struggled to get through the education system and the way that it marks intelligence. These people are out there building organisations and companies and charities and communities and doing wonderful work, but actually the school system didn't mark them kindly. These people didn't necessarily fit We have a big, it's a big thing, awareness around neurodiversity that we just didn't have maybe 5-10 years ago. A recognition. And when you look at some of the people there who are achieving, and the people I've interviewed who are achieving incredible things, and they've realized that they have some form of neurodiversity, whatever that be, ADHD, dyslexia, autism, whatever that might be. But actually there's gifts in it. They have intelligences, superpowers. So I think it's important to elevate your intelligence. And one of the areas that I guess I have gaps. I have areas that I maybe struggle with. And I have a new friend. I don't know whether AI is going to be everybody's friend, but AI can be so very valuable to help bounce ideas off. Act as almost as an advisor. You've got to control it ultimately, what you want from it, and not trust everything it says. But in terms of elevating your intelligence and your productivity, learn to get very comfortable with AI. It is happening with you, whether you like it or not. I must use AI 6 or 7 times a day. I use it as a thinking partner, partly as an advisor with me in control. It saves me all sorts of time, loads of time. I can now talk into it client notes and minutes, and as long as they're not confidential, obviously. And it produces those minutes for me very quickly. It saves me an awful lot of time. I can plan a workshop. It needs my expertise to deliver it, but actually the outline structure of it, AI can really help. It can help you with sourcing products and help you create logos. It can do all sorts of different things. It's there. So utilize it because it can add to your intelligence. I heard recently that the big consultancy firms are actually the biggest users in the world of AI, which is quite fascinating. So, use AI to elevate your intelligence. The other area, we had a fantastic guy on the show, David Bickford. David was Secretary of State for MI5 and MI6. Oh, I enjoyed meeting David, and he had a wonderful way with my youngest son, who spent some time with him as well, Daniel. And David just talked about the importance. In the MI5 and MI6, you've got to be great at asking great questions. Asking great questions is a great way to elevate your intelligence because you seek first to understand. You find out information. So get really good at questioning and listening. But utilize the other, intelligence. Technology can help you. AI can help you, and maybe taking that quiet stillness to see what you can learn from your intuition. It's very powerful. Elevate your legacy. Is the vision that you have of yourself and your life, is it big enough? When you're an old person, which I hope you will reach, when you look back on your life, do you want it to be worthwhile? Do you want to be able to enjoy it all over again? If so, maybe you want to leave a legacy. Leave something that you're proud of. And I don't just necessarily mean possessions. I don't mean possessions. I mean actually in the lives of people. Whether people show up at your funeral or not, it's going to be about how you made them feel. The difference that you made in their lives. Somebody I know, I didn't go to his funeral. I didn't really care for the guy particularly, but those who did, apparently at his funeral, his body was brought out to the tune of "Money, Money, Money" by ABBA. Apparently he'd made a lot of money, and the conversation about him was about how much money he'd made. There was nothing apparently about what a good human being he'd been. I think maybe he'd focused on trinkets and wealth to the detriment of what's truly important. Do you want to be a great mentor, a great parent, a great role model, a great son? Do you want to build a community? Do you want to build a platform? Do you want to build an organisation, charity? Utilize your life well. The final one I want to just mention is about elevating your community. Find people, find communities that lift you. Find communities that help you to be the best person you can be. not communities that are toxic, that are dangerous, that are risky. But you want to look back one day and think about what the good that you did in the world. You don't want to be looking back on multiple divorces and things like that if you can help it. But if you're at that point, then something needs to change. You've got to look in the mirror. And a community can help you do that. Find a community of peers, of people that will support you when you're down, will give you ideas, give you inspiration, and people that you can help because you go into those communities to give. So about to end this conversation now. I know I've talked to you quite a bit. Sadly, you're not here right now for me to talk with, but I hope that you feel that I've spoken to you and something that I've said has had an impact on you. I want to express my gratitude to you for giving me time, for taking the time to listen to this. I want to give you gratitude if you're out there, you're helping people, whether it be family, friends, whether it be communities, whether it be something larger. I want to say thank you. I want you to think about life and realize that we're always still students. We don't know everything. We never will do. I don't claim to have mastered what I've spoken to you about today at all. I'm going through learning day by day myself. But I want to give you an invitation. The intention is it'll be the end of January, I think, before we get the ebook up. I'm still working on it. It takes quite a bit of time, but it'll be there for you. It'll be a gift that you can just utilize, and will remind you of some of the things that I've spoken about today. Maybe you can have a think about which of those elevations, of those 10, and I shared focus, mindset, growth, your health, your resilience, your purpose, your connection, your intelligence, your legacy, your community. Which of those do you want to carry into 2026 as being an important elevation for you? And if you care about doing good, you care about how business, about how community, etc. can do good, then do listen to the show next year in 2026. That's where it's focused at. I'll bring you lots of new guests. I'll bring you some of the people we've had in the past. But as we've been going for 14 and a half years, you probably will have lots of content you can go back and listen to. But I'm gonna keep this show moving forward, keep this podcast moving forward, because I want to help. That's my life purpose, is to help and do good. And I hope that some of that idea rubs off on you. And some of you will be doing far more than me, I'm sure. And I want to be, I'm grateful to you for whatever it is you're contributing. But as far as we know, we've got one life, so let's use it well. So more amplifying good next year. Lots more great guests. Lots more great people. If you think you're suitable to be a guest on the show, let me know. We've always got opportunity. So let us know, and if you have topics or you want to just drop something by me, drop me a note. It's lovely to hear from you. The Elevation Collective will evolve and grow next year, so if you feel that you have the experience and the wisdom and the heart to join that, then get in touch with us. My email is chris@chriscooper.co.uk. The website is chriscooper.co.uk. So have a wonderful, if you're listening to this before Christmas, have a wonderful Christmas and New Year. If you're listening to this after Christmas, have a great 2026. Make it count. Make it count. Thrive and do good. That's what I want for you. Take care. Wish you all well. Have a